So I recently completed this level 100 speedrun, and I'm just going to talk about some extra things that didn't make the cut for that video, but might be useful if you're looking to min-max further or are just curious. Anyways, the first thing is the scarab setup, and the discussion point is 2 domination 1 breach versus 1 domination 2 breach. With 1 dom 2 breach, I was averaging around 520 million XP per hour and gaining around 7% XP per map. With 2 dom 1 breach, I was averaging around 600 million XP per hour and gaining around 5.8% XP per map. So if you're trying to optimize for time, 2 dom 1 breach is the play, but if you want to roll less maps, then 1 dom 2 breach is the way to go. You can also get a bit more XP from each map, again at the cost of XP per hour by fully clearing each breach. You have to make sure you're not clearing after 98 seconds have passed and your shrine buffs have expired, because that will reduce your XP per hour. I actually have a great example of this where Eve of Invasion procced and I had 1 million breaches. In this situation, I most likely should have opened more breaches at the same time and cleared less of each breach because my shrine buffs were actually expiring by the end of the map. Brief mention on omens. Omen of Brilliance are really good while leveling, especially when you first enter maps. You won't need too many of them. And I also used the Omen of Amelioration for level 98 or higher reps to essentially not lose a map's worth of XP if I died. Alternatively, you could also use something like Omen of Death Dancing, which is also viable. Now for random build stuff. Taking Occupying Force over Far Shot, I believe, would be really interesting because I've always found builds with lingering damage to do really well versus the likes of Beyond, Breach, or Delirium. Anything where monsters are they spawn somewhat delayed. So if our damage is still high enough, I think it can be a reasonable option and might be more XP per hour. Some higher budget build ideas, starting with Headhunter. When I was initially recording this run, it was around 30 divines, which is essentially double the budget. Now it's around 11 divines, which is very, very reasonable. It would save a lot of skill points if used, which opens up a lot of interesting dual socket options. We might no longer need a strength focus lethal pride. Maybe we can get one with more double damage and stuff. Flesh and Flame Verdant Jewels also come to mind. Even something simple like Quartz Infusion would be useful. Apprentice Pact for Eternal Chaos Res might also be interesting, because then we can consider fitting in a Nimbus for more projectile mechanics. And on the note of projectile mechanics, there's definitely room in the build for Awakened Gems, and Awakened Chain or Fork would definitely do a lot of work. Progenesis is of course worth mentioning, a bit pricey, but dying is banned, so if you can afford it, it's not too bad. The next question is, what defense is needed to pick up shrines without killing anything? There are a lot of options here. For example, our Grace Watcher's Eye for a % chance to evade could be pretty huge, but if something does happen to go through, that would suck because we could potentially die. So then we're looking at mitigation options. And there's again a ton of options here, like Fist taking as LE will of course be great. Progenesis, pricey but good. Petrified Blood, especially if we do some full life tech with that. Max res kind of is a thing potentially, and so is armor actually. There really are a ton of ways to build this, especially if we go for a lot of reservation stuff. The other thing is just to have really good aim. Ironically, you could hit an aim trainer and just click really well. That technically also is a strategy, but it's a hard one for sure. Next is 8 mod maps versus 20 quality maps. As I just mentioned, dying is banned, right? So getting good 8 mod maps can be difficult to do. If you can run them, you will get a lot more XP per hour. Similarly for normal rolled maps, if you can roll them all 31 pack size or higher, you will get a lot of XP, a ton, versus 21 pack size maps. But I was a bit lazy. It takes quite a bit of time to roll 31 pack size maps, or even 29, right? So going with 21 is kind of all right, I just want to get this done and over with, and it's already pretty fast, right? If you're trying to push pace, then yeah, you can definitely roll them higher. You will probably need to have a multi-reject setup, or you just need to set up the build so you can do a lot of mods. If you can set it up so the build can handle a lot of damage mods, that will make it really easy, since some of the other mods are kind of annoying. For example, if you can do double added LE, right, that will make it really safe, because that can be a run ender, for example. But yeah, dying is banned, don't die. I mentioned this in the VODs video as well, but lag. Lag is a pretty big problem. I always found having good filter to help, and phasing, I've always found that helps a ton with lag as well. You can also do predictive mode. I did lockstep for that video, which was probably a mistake. I probably should have done predictive as I was entering maps or something. So I'll have to mess around with that next time. But it's so worth mentioning, again, because it's just so impactful on the gameplay. So hopefully it helps someone out. And the stash type setup, for the most part, it was kind of min-maxed, especially more so the leveling side of things. The swap wasn't too min-maxed. It probably could have been planned out, practiced a little bit better. That might have saved a minute or two and might even made the Uber lab be a little bit faster. Not too sure how I would min-max it exactly. I think the best thing I could do is when I'm taking off my leveling gear, I would put in my inventory and then control click that into certain stash tab, and then control click all the endgame gear into my inventory and quick swap it that way instead of like doing the slow drag, which I ended up doing. That, and maybe, as I just said, having a different quicksilver in my inventory, or a way to just move even faster in lab, because I think you guys saw it was like there's sections of the lab where I was like basically running and like I had no quicksilver charges and it was just like really slow. There was a couple minutes of min-max there. You can definitely get this run under 3 hours. It's truly pretty interesting. I don't think you have to be like super well practiced. I mean, a little bit of practice always helps, but you don't have to be like, you know, like 1 million hour god gamer, super veteran to get it done. I think anyone can get this run to around the 3 hour mark, if not faster, especially if they're willing to invest a little bit more, you know, let's say higher pack size maps, maybe better gear. Headhunter in particular will again be huge, stuff like that. Yeah, that is the extra tips video. Hopefully that was helpful. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching. And as always, have a great day, Exiles. Bye.